I, I, I think the most frightening probably was being strafed by that British plane.
Really?
I think so, yeah. Because it was
Yeah.
powerful, a lot of firepower there. There's three guns mounted in each wing, and they're aimed to converge at a point somewhere out in front. I don't know how far, maybe 500 yards or whatever. But when he's coming at you down the road and he's maybe 500 feet above you, and he's probably not over 300 yards away, those bullets are coming tracking down the road, and you can see them going right past you, and then they're gone. And that feeling is, I don't know, it's just something you can't get used to. It's it's impending death, but then again, you depend upon God's protection, and in that case, He decided that I need to live a little longer.
Yeah, you're going to be 96, I think. But okay, can you tell me about your most or some of your most interesting experiences?
I suppose some of the time in the hospital I spent at Naples, either one of the two times. I was in the same hospital both times, but probably the most interesting experience was with when Sunday came. We wanted to know if there was a church meeting somewhere. Well, Italy is a Catholic state, and of course, all religion there is Catholic. And if the Protestants have a church service, they kind of have to go underground. Well, by underground, this in this case meant somebody's front room. They met in their house, and nobody knew that we were having a church service there. And we found the house and found the people meeting, and we went in and had the regular church service like we'd have at home. And the people who were running it spoke English, so we're okay with that. It was very, very interesting.
What about some, obviously, things that we've not covered? Your most exhausting experience?
I think the first day in Sicily, when I was trying to keep up with the troops, climbing this hill and laying the wire, and then I ran out of wire. And I tried to run back down to the rear to get more wire, and I guess maybe I finally found somebody that had a roll of wire, and then I ran back up to tie on and try to catch up with the unit, and all that was just totally exhausting. I could hardly move when I got there.
Did you have any experiences where you felt alone or detached from the rest of the guys, like mentally?
Well, I've been alone a lot in
Being a wireman?
being a wireman. Yeah, we're out on the wire quite often by ourselves. Any one of us that goes out to fix a break in the wire, and so alone is pretty much constant companion for a wireman. Not all the time, but whenever you have to go out to do a repair job.
And last question of this part, what was some of the most memorable characters or character that you interacted with?
Jack Miller, probably the most. My constant companion. We were together all the time when he was there.
Yeah.
After that was Lieutenant Johnson, my platoon leader.
Was he a good leader?
He was a good leader. Slow, easygoing, doesn't get excited about anything. But he was very thorough in what he did. He made sure that communication was maintained, And and then the most compassionate leader that I ever had, I think, was Colonel Henkes.
Who's that?
He was a German. His dad was a German soldier in World War I, and he was born in Germany, and then he somehow or another immigrated to America sometime or other, and he eventually got into the American Army, became an officer, and eventually colonel, and then commander of our battalion. And
And they didn't think that he would have a biased view, being
no,
German?
they didn't feel that he did, and he had no bias towards the Germans. But he understood the Germans. He understood their thinking, how they operated, and I think a lot of his tactics were successful because he knew what the Germans might do, and so he was a real great commander. There's a lot of them, but those are the ones that stand out.
Yeah.
They were the closest to me.
And then were there times that you felt a lot of pressure or stress?
Oh, I don't think so. I think I got under stress quite a bit, got behind, and I got lost, went the wrong way, and all that kind of thing. But I eventually worked those things out, and didn't have to worry too much about it. When you've grown up in the woods, and you travel all over a mile square area of heavy woods, and get used to that, you get to the point where you know pretty much where you are all the time, even if you're lost. Yeah.
So let's talk about the Medal of Honor citation. It happened on was it the 6th or the 7th?
7th.
Because the 7th, it was early morning.
It would be.
I guess it would be kind of both.
It would be split between 7th and 8th, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I
think that's the way it was.
Well,
yeah.
could you talk to me about that day? Did you have any premonitions that something might happen? Or
No,
did it
I
just
didn't.
seem like a normal day?
I didn't really. It was all, one of the funny things about it was just the day before that I'd taken a German Luger off of a dead German officer laying out beside the road. So I relieved him of his Luger, and that was the day before, and I had it in my tent and cleaned it up and released the clip, and I wasn't thinking very, very clearly, pointed up in the air and pulled the trigger. There was one round still in the chamber. Bang, went hole in the tent. I real quick hid the Luger because it's almost illegal to have one, You're not supposed to capture German equipment. And anyway, I hid it and got my .45 out and was cleaning it away, and the guy looked in the tent, said, "Did I hear a shot?" I said, "Yeah." Says, cleaning the weapon, and it went off. Didn't know there was a bullet in it. Anyway, I put the Luger back in my pack, and it was that next day that we went into Besançon, and the battalion, 3rd Battalion, was supposed to take the town of Besançon, which is quite a big area.
Is it as big as Bend, would you say?
Yeah, it's as big as Bend. Oh yeah.
So it's a real proper city. But
yeah, and it's scattered all over. If you get up on one of the forts and look down on it, you look down into a huge forest. But intermingled in that forest, you can see there's buildings everywhere. And then you look down here to your left, and there's a whole main part of town here. And then you look over there across the river, and there's more buildings. It was quite a large area. I imagine it was close when it was fully operating before the war, probably 60, 70,000 people there. Maybe not quite as big as Bend, but almost. But anyway, we took the 3rd Battalion, went around the west part of, no, I'm sorry, went around the east part of town and came in from the northeast.
And the Germans are still in the town?
Yeah, they're still in the town. And then another unit came in from the south, and we converged, made a pincher movement up here. Then other troops come in from below. So we had the town completely surrounded, and we're coming in from all directions. So we came in, walked down this road, and I was laying a wire down the side of the road on the left-hand side of the road, which I
Is this
usually
in the outskirts
do.
of the town, or is this in the town?
We're just beginning to come to the town.
Okay.
There's a building here and a building there, not very many, just semi-farm area. And so I'm laying the wire down the left-hand side of the road, and they decide to put the command post in a house over on this side of the road where they stopped. So I noticed that's where they stopped, so I climbed the house over on my side of the road, tied the wire in, and then swung it over the road.
Explain to me, why would you have to climb the house?
Well, because I wanted to get the wire over the road. I had to cross the road with it, and I wanted to get it above the traffic.
Because you didn't want people to mess with the wire.
No, I don't want people running over it with vehicles.
So, what would you do in a scenario back in an earlier campaign when you didn't have 2 buildings and you had to run it across?
I'd probably, if it was pavement, I don't know what I would do. But we didn't run into much pavement. I probably might dig a little trench.
No, I'm just saying. You're saying the reason you had to put the wires above,
yeah,
was because you didn't want the foot traffic to mess with it on the ground.
or the vehicle traffic. There'll be vehicles. I'm envisioning vehicles coming down this road behind us.
So you climb. How big is this house?
Oh, it's a single story, but it's up. I don't know. I don't know.
You think it's high up
I don't even remember how I climbed it.
You think as high up as we are now, or
No,
higher?
it's probably about our level, I expect.
But you're on
But
the roof. Okay.
Yeah, but most of the buildings were stone, and so you could find footholds to get from one stone to another.
And these
Get
are
to the
all,
top.
all unoccupied?
As far as I knew, they were. I think so.
Okay. So you climbed to the top.
Yep, I tied the wire in so I could then
And then so you go to the other house?
go, cross the road, go to the other house, do the same thing, climb up on the roof, and then I'd pull the wire tight across the road and tie it in up there, and drop the end of it over, and all of a sudden, then 20 millimeter anti-aircraft gun opens up on me from across the canal down in front of us. Now he wasn't able to deflect the fire down far enough to shoot into the house, but he could hit the roof, and there was bullets tearing up the roof. 20 millimeter is just a little smaller than an inch diameter.
And you're still on the roof.
I'm still on the roof.
And is this a total surprise that you take?
Yeah, total surprise, because here, it's just slate. They're slate shingles, stone,
Okay.
and they're flying everywhere.
What are you
And
thinking?
The bullets are exploding. I'm thinking I got to get off of here, and I did. I just jumped off the side of the house.
You just jumped?
I did.
You didn't climb down?
No, I didn't take time. I jumped down and landed on cobblestone floor.
Oh, that sounds like a pretty
And
bad fall.
That's where a lot of my back trouble comes from, things like that.
When as you got older, you had back issues?
I've had vertebrae broken in my back, all up and down. I've got two vertebrae in my lower spine that cuts off my leg when I'm standing up. My leg goes to sleep. Yesterday when I was talking, my leg was starting to go to sleep, and I could just barely make it back to my chair.
Oh, at the ceremony?
Yeah.
And this is all from that one fall?
Well, those are all contributing things. Throughout my lifetime, I've had other incidents like that too.
At that point, I mean, when you landed on the cobblestone,
Yeah.
did it hurt or you just had adrenaline?
I didn't feel it because the adrenaline kicked in, fear, all those things added together. 20 millimeter slugs coming at you, it cancels out all of the thought of whatever.
Here, can you draw what you're saying? Because just draw where you are positioned, please. So there, just draw the town.
Oh wow, I don't know. Let's see. This is.
It makes it easier for me to visualize.
Okay. I better get it this way. Okay, I think we got. Okay, here's the road, and our house is here, right alongside the road, and then this house is over here. And so I climb the roof of this house. There's the peak of it. And there's probably most likely a chimney up there like that. It seems like we had our house over here had, I think it had a chimney here, if I remember right. And this is the peak of the roof. And
so where's the road?
This is the road right here. It's just the road's going down. And
where's the canal?
the canal is up ahead of here, probably maybe 200 or 300 yards ahead of us.
So if you were to pass the canal, would you be getting deeper into the town or farther from the town?
Deeper into the town.
Oh, okay, so you guys, I see.
Yeah, this is a railroad track.
I thought you said that's a canal.
In the bottom of the canal. It probably could have been a canal at one time, but they built the railroad tracks in the bottom of the canal,
really,
so that they don't have to. So they can cross over a bridge instead of crossing the tracks. See, like here, you got to cross railroad tracks to get to town. Wait for the train to go by. No waiting here. You just drive over the bridge, and the train goes by below you. It's probably 20 or 30 foot deep.
I got it. So
deep.
So there was no water in the canal.
No, it wasn't a canal that had water in it.
All right, perfect.
It had a railroad track.
So. I guess you basically are just actually where's the 4-foot wall?
Well, it's right here in front. It's like this, and well, I think this comes out a little farther. So there's this little space here, the 4-foot wall here.
This is the 4-foot wall?
Yeah, right here.
Here, put a four next to it. Just put a 4. Okay.
I don't remember how far this wall went back.
And it was stone.
And I don't remember what's back here.
Right, the wall was stone?
Yes, stone wall.
And then where's that company of Germans coming from?
They're
platoon?
They're coming up out of this canal, and they're coming at us from this direction right here. They're probably not coming down the road because there's no cover there, but they're coming at us from there's some wooded area out in here. And so they're coming in from this direction. So the enemy is coming here, and they're coming from all this area. And when they're getting close enough, they're throwing grenades at us. Well, somebody had put a chicken wire fence above this wall, and I don't know why or anything about it. But I know that grenades were hitting the fence and bouncing off and going here and exploding.
Where were your guys' rifle companies?
We were down here behind the wall.
But what about the rifle companies? I would expect that
the rifle companies were somewhere out here. They may have been across the canal. They may have been out in this area. I don't know where they were. But at any rate, these guys were behind them.
Okay, so
And,
let's just here. I'll take this
okay.
because I want to hear it from you now. I want to see you talk about it. So you start getting 20 millimeters
Yeah,
shells hitting the roof,
yeah,
and what I'm imagining they're just going everywhere,
yeah.
and you jump down.
I jumped down off the roof, right onto the stone patio floor down below.
Then what?
And then from that point on, I just I don't I know we went inside the house to hook up the telephone. I don't remember doing it, but I'm sure I had to do that.
Wait, so you were successful then in
Yeah.
doing the.
Yeah.
So you hooked up the telephone.
Hooked up the telephone, and I think we might have had communication back to the rear. I'm not sure, but I imagine we did, because while all this was going on, after they got the phone hooked up, we were in the four. I believe there's four of us riflemen and one radio operator were behind the wall where we're in, squatted down and pointing our pistols over the top of the wall and firing at muzzle flashes which were out there in the darkness. And
Wasn't there a recon patrol that got sent out to go?
well, it was a I haven't heard this except from one person. I haven't read any accounts of it, but he says that it was an intelligence group of probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 people that were coming in to try to give us additional cover, additional protection, and maybe keep the Germans from capturing command posts. And so they would have to fan out on our right, because down the road is open. We don't want to be putting people in the road because there's no cover there. So they must have been over in the woods area, and the Germans, of course, turned their fire against them, and they decided it was time to leave. But one of their group decided he would join us and help us out, and then walking across from the woods over to our house, they hit him with a grenade and killed him. All this is going on out there, and I don't know what's.
This is what you heard about after the fact.
I've heard all this stuff afterwards.
Do you believe that this is accurate or no?
Well, I believe it's accurate because a lot of it is based on after battle analysis that have been produced.
So, explain to me, for someone like me who's never truly been in pitch dark. It was dark back then,
Yeah.
and there was no full moon.
No, I don't remember that there was any.
Could
Yeah.
you even see your hand if it was in front of you?
Yeah, we could make out stuff local, and
But you wouldn't be able to see across the street.
no, I wouldn't be able to tell in the dark.
So what I want to know is, before we continue, the command post. It
Yeah.
has a lot of vital information, or is it just the
It would,
switchboard?
Well, see, the command post is connected to all 3 of the rifle companies plus a heavy weapons company, and so we have, and they'd probably have the maps of the battle, places where you've been, where you're going, and of course, if you're told to take your battalion somewhere and take this objective, you would have all the information on the objective with you, if it was printed, unless it was given orally. And so this would be with the command post. Plus they would wipe out the battalion commander and his staff, and they would in our case, they would have gotten one of the company commanders because he happened to be with us at the time.
He was one of the three that you say?
No, he was one. It was in the house.
Okay.
I don't know how many were in the house. I would guess that there were probably six or eight people in there. Would be the normal battalion command staff.
Okay. At this point, I want to give you the full reins to tell the story, how it happened. Just let's start from the point where you've jumped from the roof.
Okay, I jumped from the roof, and I think I went inside the house and hooked the wire up. I don't remember it, but I'm pretty sure I did because that would be my job. And I'd probably drop the wires, roll the wire someplace, and I don't know where. And then I squatted down on the left of the group that was defending behind the wall. See, there was a radio operator, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 wiremen. I was the far left wireman on the left side, and so in piecing together what the guys have told me of their experiences, we were behind the wall firing away with our 45s. I don't remember that, but that's what they tell me. And we could only see muzzle flashes. So you see a flash and you fire at it as near as you can. You see another flash over here and you fire at that. My theory is that we had enough noise going there that the Germans might have thought we had a pretty good defense, and they were slowed down enough that by the time all this was happening, the main attack was happening, the battalion commander got the word to pull out, go back where it's safe. So, and he may have got it by telephone. And so he immediately bundles everything up, and out they go, out past me where I was, wait a minute, the grenade fell, didn't it? And I didn't know where it was. So I groping around, leaning over trying to find it, and I decided the time was up. I just happened to have my blanket around me because it was kind of chilly, so I just shoved it down my chest about like so and dropped, and then everything went bluey.
Put it up. So
Yeah.
you put the blanket.
I think I shoved it down to my chest, and I can remember doing that, but that's the last thing I remember. I'll try to piece this together as near as I can. While I was out, they got the order to move the command post back to a safer area. So they come filing past, and I was all a bloody mess here, wrapped up in a bicycle, which was just to my left. It must have blew me over against a bicycle. And then after the command post staff left, then the guys that were defending, they all followed after him. And so the whole crew was gone, and here I am sitting here by myself when I woke up, I thought. And they told me later that they thought I was dead.
What do you remember thinking and seeing when you came to?
Oh. I was just groggy, that was all. And I was really confused. Why was I tangled up in this bicycle, and I didn't even know the bicycle was there before the evening started. And I managed to get loose from it. And I was able to stand up and stagger over to the door to the house because I thought I heard a sound inside. And there was Lieutenant Johnson there taking the wire off the phone. And I asked him if we could go to the rear, and he said, as soon as they get the wire off the phone, we're out of here. And so I think I managed to get my right arm over. This arm had a chunk took out of it. My right arm over his shoulder, and of course I was bleeding all over from my arm and my head. I don't know what was going on down at my feet, but we staggered back to the rear. I was supported most of my weight on his shoulder, so my right foot didn't have to carry much weight. And we got back probably 100 yards or so down the road. He said, I kind of remember some of that, because I heard explosions back behind us, and I felt little pin pricks in my skin that was exposed. I didn't have a pack on at that time, because I had probably taken it off when I went into defense position. And he said that we had been hit by grenade fragments from behind on our way out, and that I was complaining about my foot starting to hurt, and he says, "We don't have time for that. Germans are right behind us." He says, "We got to get out of here," and we did.
What happened?
Well, we found coming down the road, as comes a Jeep down the road toward us, and Lieutenant Johnson got him to stop, and we turned him around, and we got on the Jeep and went back to the aid station.
I would like to know, there's 4 of you behind a stone wall, and you pick up defensive positions.
Yeah.
And how do you know that there's a platoon of Germans coming at you? You just hearing
I don't. We didn't know that. We didn't know. We didn't even know that we're being surrounded. All we knew was that there was fire coming in from this direction down here, and we knew that we needed to return fire if we could. And so the only thing we can do is just to return fire at muzzle flashes wherever we see it.
Did you shoot your gun?
Well, I don't remember shooting it, but they tell me I did. They said I was blazing away at them, so I don't know. But the main thing I think we did was delay their advance long enough for the command post to get safely out of there.
And did you throw any grenades? And were you guys throwing grenades at them?
No, we didn't have any grenades with us.
So they're throwing grenades, and what's happening to all the grenades that they're throwing?
They hit this chicken wire on top of the wall
Is
and dropped down behind the wall.
Big piece of chicken wire?
Yeah, it's right on top of a stone wall. I don't know why.
What we're talking, like 3 feet tall?
I don't know. Maybe it was 3 feet above. So probably the whole thing wasn't over 7 feet high.
Okay.
I suppose. And grenade could have come over the top of it and dropped in, or it could have come through a hole in the wire and dropped in. I don't know how it got there.
So, this is all pitch, dark at night.
It's all dark. Yeah.
You hear a grenade?
I hear it hit the ground.
What does it make a loud
I hear
noise?
something. No, it's just a kind of a thump, very close to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have heard it, for all the other noise out there. But I realized that, knowing that they were throwing grenades at us, I was sure that this was also a grenade, and I was right. It was.
If you couldn't see anything, how could you?
Well, I just feeling around in the dark.
Oh,
Yeah, and hoping I could feel it and get a hold of it and throw it back, but that would have been a mistake because I had it in my hand when it went off.
So by the time you were able to find it,
Yeah, it would have. The time was up.
does it? But from the moment you heard it, the thump, did time get slower?
Yeah,
It did.
it probably. By the time I heard it, the time it went off was probably maybe 3 seconds.
How long did it seem?
Seemed like minutes.
Really?
Yeah, but then, of course, when it went off, it erased everything, and I don't remember anything from that point on until I woke up.
You find it in your hand.
I don't.
You find it with your hand. You decide not to throw it.
No, I didn't find it.
Oh, you didn't find it.
No, I didn't find it. I'm speculating though. If I had found it,
Oh, it would
and
have.
had it in my hand, it would have went off.
Okay, so
And
then
then it would have been more damage.
so you couldn't find it, but you knew the general area.
Yeah, then it just dropped right
So
where I
you
was.
just take a blanket and you
I think both actions happened at the same time. I dragged the blanket up and dropped at the same time and hit the ground, and all of it happened at the same. All this happened at the same time the grenade went off.
Really?
Yeah,
What are the other three guys? Do you know what they were doing?
they're still in their position as far as
Firing?
I know. I don't know.
Did you
They
think consciously about the decision that you were making?
I don't think I really thought of anything. I can't recall anything that I would have thought.
Oh, explain this to me though, because as human beings, we want to survive.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
That's our instinct.
Yeah.
To survive.
Hmm.
But you're telling me, and I believe you because you could not have had any time to really think about it, because it was an instantaneous decision.
Yeah.
But that's the opposite of survival. You would have. There's a huge likelihood that you would have died.
Yeah. That's a possibility. Yeah.
Explain to me what makes it so that you are willing to do that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh. I don't know.
It seems like it was so easy for you to be willing to give up your life.
Well,
Did you realize that you could have given up your life?
yeah. I think the realization was there, but I didn't have time to think about it. It was just an instantaneous reaction that seemed the natural thing to do. From the only alternative, that's all I can tell. I think thoughts probably, a lot of the things that I would have thought normally probably were erased about the time the explosion went off. And I think if I did think anything, I can't remember them. But I don't remember trying to take evasive action, get up and run, or anything like that. I never even considered any of that stuff.
It's a pretty special thing. I mean, honest, you saved three guys' lives. Because if you didn't do anything, it would have gone off. Would it have killed all of you?
It could have. Yeah, I don't know what the damage would have
Because
been.
you guys were close together.
Yeah, we were close together, but we were all in one row. And the guy next to me would have probably got the biggest of the blast. It probably would have killed him, but it might have injured one or two of the others. So I don't know what would have happened.
When you came to, were you in pain?
No. No, I just knew that I could feel that I was blood running down the side of my face here. And I felt a little bit of a pain in my left arm. I reached up there, and my hand was all covered with sticky stuff. I couldn't hear it. I couldn't. Well, when I heard the grenade land, I knew that I was the only one in position to do anything, because it was, as far as I could tell, it was right under me. And so my first thought, the only thought I did have, was to grab it and throw it back. And that wasn't possible in the time I had. And besides, I couldn't find it. And then I just automatically shoved the blanket down close. I probably just shoved it down. I don't remember how. And I dropped on the ground. My legs went out from under me, and I dropped flat on the ground all at the same time. But I don't know whether I even hit the ground before the grenade went off. It was all that close together. It was just...
And all this time the shots are going off.
Yeah, all this time they're still back there firing at us and still throwing grenades at us.
Why do you think they didn't come and kill you?
Well, they weren't there yet.
I'm saying after everyone had left you by yourself.
Yeah, they would. If I'd have stayed there, they would have. But
How far away
we
were
had-
they?
I don't know when. You see, when the grenade went off,
It says as close as 10 yards.
well, that's what they say, yeah. course, those things I don't know. I just have to go by what people say because I was in behind the wall and I don't see what's going on out there,
Yeah.
but I can see that there are muzzle flashes. I can hear grenades hitting the fence and dropping down, and I can hear them exploding. I can hear all that's going on, but I can't see any of it. And as far as I know, we're not in any extreme danger of being captured. That's what I'm probably thinking, if I were reasoning things out. And unknown to me, they were still coming and getting ready to surround the command post, and probably the fire from our 5 guns probably slowed them down enough that they probably dropped in place so they wouldn't get hit by any of our bullets. That's what I'm thinking.
Wow.
But I don't know. I can't analyze those things.
Where were you injured from the grenade?
Most of the bottom of my right foot, right in front of my heel, was blown off, right down to the bone.
So we're talking about
Yeah, we're talking about...
like this?
No, it's right in here. Yeah,
This area?
that portion of it, yeah.
It's just taken off?
Yeah, it's and there's a scar running from the outside of my foot down underneath all the way across and up halfway up the other side, and so all that area was just split wide open. And then another piece came up, and it probably, I suppose I was down in somewhat kind of a position like this maybe, or I was squatted down. I was on the ground. I don't want to get there now. But anyway, a piece started here, ripped right up my arm, come up like this, and then it probably might have had enough resistance here that it glanced off, and maybe the same piece come up and hit me here in the temple. Now, I don't know that that is it, but I'm just guessing it is.
And you've always had problems with your foot?
Yeah, my right foot, one of the problems I've had is it burns when you leave it sitting in one place for a long time.
It
like
burns.
You're on the accelerator pedal. You're driving from here to Eugene, and of course you're working it back and forth. That's all right, but then it starts burning.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, and you want to get off the accelerator pedal and give it some relief. So my answer to that was every time I got a car that didn't have cruise control, I'd put one on it.
So, are you saying that even when your foot's like that right now, it feels like it's burning?
Not right now. It's far enough healed that it will if I just leave it for a long time. Like if I sat here for, I have to keep moving my foot around and getting it some relief, like this, and give it a little bit of relief. And
After
come
the
back.
war, were you ever able to run?
I did some, yeah, not very fast. This foot was always a kind of a drawback.
Looking back, I mean, do you feel it was worth it, all the injuries that you accumulated? I mean,
Yes, it was worth it because, getting selfish, number one, I'm still alive. And number two, we've got 3 wiremen and a radio operator that's still alive.
There was 4 guys with you?
Yeah, there's 3. There were 4 wiremen together. To me, I was 1 wireman.
Yeah.
Then there was 3 more,
Yeah.
and then a radio operator.
So you saved
So our
4.
whole-
You
our
saved
whole-
4 lives.
Yeah, but now here's another thing. My battalion commander, Colonel Ramsey, was in the house, and when I went to visit him a few years ago, he was in a wheelchair and just barely able to talk. The first thing he said when I walked in the room, he says, "There's a man who saved my life." he credits me with saving his life as well.
Why?
I don't know, unless he's thinking that if the grenade had to have exploded without somebody interfering with it, pieces would have come in the house because the door was right behind us and it was open. There wasn't any door probably on the house. If I remember, there was a door, open door, and there was also a window beside it. I think that's the way it was. So he thinks that some fragments would have come into the house and killed some of them too.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, well, no, not now. He was last, a year ago, he was still alive.
And you get sent to the hospital? Is it a field hospital?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't remember?
Well, I can only remember, I don't remember the Jeep taking me back, but we were in a stone building and it was all dark, and I was laying on the floor on a stretcher, I think, and there was a guy beside me laying on a stretcher, and he was moaning and complaining a lot in pain, and pretty soon artillery shells started coming over, and he began to panic and said, "They're going to get us. Artillery shells are going to come and get us." I said, "No, don't worry about it. They're our own shells. They're going over to hit the enemy." I wasn't sure of it, but I could tell by the direction they came from that that's probably what was the case.
So
Well, I learned
even
later.
when you're injured, you're trying to help
I'm
panicked soldiers?
trying to help him calm down a little bit because he was really having a fit.
What, was he screaming?
Not screaming, just panic. I was afraid he was going to get up off his stretcher and start running, but he didn't.
Did you see a lot of guys who were shell-shocked or
Yeah,
battle fatigued?
battle fatigue is.
Did you see a lot of that?
I've seen a few of them. Yeah.
But before we wrap this up, how long were you recuperating?
I was still in the hospital when I received the Medal of Honor. I was in a convalescent hospital.
Meaning
I
what?
was walking without the aid of any crutches or anything. And I was limping a little, but I was still in convalescent care when I received the medal. That was March, April.
When did you find out that you'd been nominated?
Kind of came in stages. My chaplain came to visit me in the hospital and said, "We've written you up for the Medal of Honor." And that's while I was still in Naples, which would be back in September. So that'd be the first that I've heard about it. And then later on, I think somebody told me when I was in Camp Carson that I had finally been approved, was going to get the medal. And then soon after that, then they began to make preparations and to do the ceremony. And it's been a while.
Well, it's been 70 plus years. Just give me an idea. You went on war bond tours after, but wasn't the war over?
See, that was when we were doing the bond tours. It was I got to think of the date. It was January, February, March, April, March. Probably March or April.
Oh, 45.
45, I think.
Oh, so the war was still going on.
I
Your
think-
war was over,
Yeah.
but the war...
The Pacific War was still going on, and we still had a battle to win. I imagine a lot of it was laying in the hospital bed in Naples.
The second time or the first?
Well, both times. I think I could put that into two different occasions.
Yeah.
And the first time, I felt that things were okay, that I'd be back up walking and probably be rejoining my unit. But the second one, I didn't feel that was the case because I thought my foot would probably give way and they'd have to remove it eventually anyway. But as time went by, all those things disappeared, and I think those were the darkest times.
Besides Jack Miller, were there any good buddies, or just not even good buddies, guys that you knew that didn't make it?
No, I don't think there were any.
Then were there any specific times besides the grenade incident that you just really thought you weren't going to make it?
Probably the two times, one I was strafed by the British pilot, the other when the machine gun opened up on me from over across the valley.
How far was he, would you say?
I'd think it was 500 yards, maybe.
Oh, when you say across the valley, I'm thinking of a huge... That's very close, Mr. Maxwell. That's very close.
Well, it depends on the size of the valley.
If you waved, he could have said you could.
Yeah, maybe
But
he saw me, but I didn't see him.
And so you ran back up the hill.
Well, first I dropped into the ditch right alongside of me, and of course the firing stopped then, and then I very cautiously crawled up the ditch as far as I could go, and by that time I was in some brush and kind of shielded from view, and I got back on the trail. Then I walked back where I came from. Oh, I think coming home and some of my experiences in the hospital, looking at people who had really got extremely severe injuries, like half their face blown away or
you saw
something
guys like that.
Yeah, and people with arms and legs blown off, or that type of thing. Those were all bad. You can't help but feel a lot of empathy for people who have that happen to them, and yet I got out of it in pretty good shape.
What was the happiest day in your life?
Happiest day of my life. Probably August the 12th, 1951, when I was standing up on the stage. That beautiful young lady there standing beside me, and I said, "I do." Yeah. The worst day, when April the 10th, 2000 and I got to think this out a little bit. 2014. That was in the hospital in Phoenix, Arizona, and the doctor come in and said, "You've got to make the decision. Do we pull the plug and let her go?" He said, I shook my head no, and he said, she's been dead for a long time. All we're doing is just keeping her vitals functioning.
How many years were you guys married?
1951. You have to do the math. I can't do it right now.
64. Is there anything that you would like to say to those who died in the Second World War?
Thank you for helping us to maintain freedom in the world, for helping us to pull downtrodden people who were subjected to severe deprivation at the hands of evil men like Hitler and Tojo and others. And for the people now who are suffering for the same kinds of offenses from evil men. Thank you for freeing people who are still able to enjoy it, to give them a good measure of freedom for the rest of their lives.
If you were to give me some advice, or some life advice or messages, or if you would like to impart some wisdom onto me, what would you say, sir?
I'd say always believe in what you're doing, particularly when you're wanting to keep alive the memory of World War II soldiers. It's a very important job you're doing, and you're not doing this for your own satisfaction or even for mine or my family, but you're doing it for the families and the kids that are growing up through generations to come. The generations that follow us, you're doing it for them. And you're telling them the story of how important freedom is, and that you need to continue doing that. And my advice to you, if advice is needed, is to firmly fix in your mind a greater power than yourself, God, for example, whatever you have chose to believe in as far as you know God, to keep him uppermost in your mind. Of course, we believe that God came to us in three persons: the Son in Jesus Christ, and God the Father himself, and the Holy Spirit. And so these three are ruling over our lives as far as eternal life is concerned. And the most important thing to all of us is not this life, but the life that is to come. And we need to kind of look out for ourselves and pray that God will take us into his care when we're through with this life.
Is there anything that you want to say to future generations?
Future generations to come have a big debt to pay. I envision my great-great-grandkids and the amount of taxes they're going to have to pay to dissolve this terrible debt we've got. We're debt in trillions of dollars, which we can't even envision how much that is. And that's a debt that someday you're going to have to pay that debt. And so I'm wanting the generations that follow us to be very vigilant in their selection of government. See, we were designed to be a republic, a country that's ruled by people who believe in the future of mankind, whether it's here or anywhere else. And we were raised to be a country that live in freedom. We can do what we want to do, and we were raised to be in a country that is law-abiding, and along with that freedom is obey the law. And whenever you have free speech and want to talk about something, you have the freedom to talk about anything you want to talk about, to complain about anybody you want to complain about, or to complain about any situation you want to complain about. But along with that freedom with each word you have a responsibility to analyze what the effect of that word is going to do once you utter it. So along with freedom, the most important thing we have is responsibility to our fellow men.
Is there anything that you would like to say to anyone?
God bless you.
And then how would you like to be remembered as, sir?
Oh, just a good soldier, and I'd like to be remembered as a grandparent who really loves their children, as a parent who really loves my children, and as a great-grandparent who really loves the children of the third generation down. And I just want to be remembered as doing a small part to try to retain democracy and freedom for this land. Very small.
Quite large indeed, though. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your service. I'm very appreciative of you going through everything that you went through so that I could be here today talking with you, and it means a whole lot to me.
Well, it's good, and you've earned this coin.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that, sir.
Okay. You can take it out of the envelope if you want.